Clara was a 58-years-old woman who lived alone in her cozy home in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. Her house was filled with memories of a life shared with her late husband and her now-adult children who lived far away. Although she spoke with them regularly, Clara had begun to feel the weight of loneliness. Her doctor, aware of her emotional state, recommended that she consider adopting a pet. After some reflection, Clara decided to visit a local animal shelter. There, among several dogs looking for a home, a young golden retriever caught her attention. His brown eyes conveyed a mix of innocence and curiosity, and his golden fur seemed to glow under the shelter's dim light. The puppy, named Toby, wagged his tail enthusiastically upon seeing her, as if he somehow knew she might become his future owner. Clara asked to meet him up close. As soon as Toby was freed from his enclosure, he trotted directly toward her and placed his head on her lap. That simple gesture deeply moved Clara. It was an instant connection she would never forget. The shelter staff explained that Toby was a typical golden retriever, intelligent, loyal, and full of energy. But he also had a special gift for making people feel loved. Convinced that Toby was exactly what she needed, Clara signed the adoption papers. Their first day at home was an adventure for both of them. Toby, still a puppy, explored every corner of the house, from the living room to the kitchen, wagging his tail frantically and occasionally stumbling over his own paws. Clara, who had never had a dog before, marveled at his energy and curiosity. However, the night brought a challenge. Toby didn't want to stay in his bed. He whimpered and scratched at Clara's bedroom door, and in the end, she gave in and let him in. The puppy jumped onto the bed with joy and curled up at her feet, finally at peace. Over time, Toby and Clara developed a routine that gave her a renewed sense of purpose. In the mornings, he sat with her on the porch as she sipped her coffee, watching the sunrise together. In the afternoons, they took walks in the park, where Toby became the center of attention among dog walkers and children eager to pet him. For Clara, Toby was much more than a pet. He was her companion, her confidant, and her source of joy. But the bond they were building would soon be tested in an unexpected way when a simple household accident turned into a life-or-death moment. Whenever Clara felt sad, Toby would quietly approach, resting his head on her lap or bringing her his favorite toy, as if he knew that his presence alone was enough to comfort her. But when she was happy, Toby shared in her joy, running around the living room and barking excitedly, often carrying a pillow like a trophy to show her. Though still young, Toby already displayed remarkable obedience and a strong desire to learn. Clara, at 58, was a resilient woman who had faced many losses in her life, including the death of her husband. Her loneliness had led her to seek in Toby a companion who could bring meaning back to her days. Although her children, Lucas and Marta, lived far away, they spoke with her regularly and always made sure she was doing well. When Clara adopted Toby, Lucas and Marta visited more often to meet the new member of the family. Marta was fascinated by Toby, and Lucas, who had initially been reluctant about dogs, was surprised to see how his mother lit up when talking about Toby's antics and progress. This marked the beginning of a bond not only between Clara and Toby, but also between the entire family and the dog. However, a test would soon come that would take their connection to another level, proving that Toby was capable of extraordinary things when he was needed the most. It was an afternoon like any other. Clara was in the kitchen, preparing a simple snack, while Toby rested near the door, attentively watching her every move. Clara had decided to slice a fresh apple, one of her favorite fruits, to go with her tea. As she chatted with Toby as if he were a human companion, she took a bite of an apple slice without a second thought. That was when it happened. A piece of apple got lodged in her throat, completely blocking her airway. Clara let out a muffled sound and clutched her neck, trying to cough to clear her throat, but it was useless. Her eyes filled with terror as she searched for anything that might help her. Toby, sensing the drastic shift in the room's energy, immediately stood up, tilting his head in confusion at first, but then barking insistently, as if trying to call for help. Clara desperately tried to pound on her chest, stumbling toward the table for support, but her strength was fading. Her face turned red, and the lack of oxygen became apparent. Toby, not understanding exactly what was happening but sensing the danger, quickly moved toward Clara, circling her nervously. When Clara fell to her knees, Toby began barking even louder, almost as if crying out for help. Then, something incredible happened. Toby, driven by an instinct no one could explain, lunged at Clara and began pushing against her abdomen with his paws, applying pressure. It wasn't a perfect maneuver by any means, but the repeated movement and Toby's weight were enough to shift the apple piece slightly, allowing Clara to take a small gasp of air. With that sliver of hope, she summoned the strength to cough harder. Finally, the piece of apple shot out of her throat, landing on the floor. Clara, still gasping and with tears in her eyes, collapsed onto her back, trying to catch her breath as she looked at Toby, who was now anxiously licking her face. The fear was still there, but something stronger emerged, a deep sense of gratitude. Clara hugged Toby tightly, sobbing as the dog looked at her, still concerned, but with a gleam in his eyes that seemed to say, "I'm here for you." Though her legs trembled and her breathing remained unsteady, she slowly got up, using the table for support. Toby never left her side, watching her closely as if making sure she was okay. Clara knew that what had happened was more than just luck. Toby, her loyal companion, had saved her life in a way she never thought possible. The house, usually quiet, now felt filled with a different kind of energy. Weak but comforted, Clara sank onto the couch, with Toby at her feet, and stroked him with infinite gratitude. That day, amidst fear and uncertainty, Clara and Toby discovered that their connection went far beyond the ordinary. It was a unique bond, forged not only in love, but also in bravery and the protective instinct Toby had shown in the most critical moment. After the incident, Clara couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Though she wasn't an expert in dog training, she found resources online and enrolled in a basic course to teach essential commands. From the very first day, Toby showed a remarkable ability to learn. As a true golden retriever, his intelligence and eagerness to please Clara made each lesson an enriching experience for both. The learning process wasn't just for Toby, it was transformative for Clara too. With every command Toby mastered, Clara felt her confidence gradually return. Before the incident, she had led a quiet but somewhat apathetic life. Now, her relationship with Toby became a source of renewed purpose and joy. The pivotal moment came a few weeks later when Clara decided to face one of her fears. She prepared a meal similar to the one that had caused the accident, but this time with extra precautions. As she sliced the fruit, Toby sat beside her, watching attentively. When Clara hesitated, Toby let out a soft bark as if to reassure her that he was there. Inspired by Toby's confidence, Clara overcame her anxiety and enjoyed the meal, something she hadn't done since that terrifying afternoon. From that day on, Clara and Toby found a new rhythm in their daily life. They had faced fear and uncertainty together and emerged stronger, bound by a love that knew no limits. If this story moved you, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories where animals and humans unite to overcome life's toughest challenges. Share this story with your friends and family, especially those who love animals, and help us spread a message of respect, gratitude, and care for these wonderful beings who make our lives extraordinary.